So the PRT saving is over, and now we can load the PRT. So let's set to off the particles, and then we go inside the object there, and then thinkbox, Krakatoa, and we have PRT loader. Let's pick the first frame. Okay. And say to use, let's see, to have actually 100% particles. Okay. And now we have to align to the right position, so we can go inside with the right mouse button, open the move transform type pin and set 0 and 0, and then now we see that the particles are in the right place. Let's say to use less particles inside the viewport, let's say maybe 10%, and to use the small dots, so we are using the small points. Okay, let's see again, 100%. Okay, everything is right. Perfect. So let's go maybe to less particles. So we have now the possibility to see the particles using the PRT. So let's save, and we go to render, for example, this frame. Okay, it is still to saving, so we have to go back to Krakatoa and say to render instead of saving. Okay, and render. Okay, you see that we have still a little bit of grain, but it's not a problem. You know that using more particles you can achieve a better look. So another thing we have to do is to say to do the matte masking for the particles over the, let's call it the knife. So we can select this one and make a selection. Let's call it knife. Then inside Krakatoa, we can go in the panel where we have the matte objects. You see that there we have the knife. We can put there, and then we can enable the matte. In this way it will be calculated. So let's go to calculate the new frame. Okay, and now we can be sure that it's calculating in the right way the matte. Now I'd like to do something more. So let's pick there. I like to control the density of the particles, and to control the density we can use a modifier, and I mean the Magma modifier, and this way we'll be able to open the Magmaflow. Let's go at one frame like this one. Let's render it. Okay, nice. And then let's go to work on the Magmaflow. So we can create a really simple, let's close just for a moment. I like to render a frame, maybe just a little bit more. Okay, so it is rendering. You see that's the actual render. And just to let you know, we have the possibility to control the density of the particles also from the Magmaflow. So you can go, for example, there inside the Magmaflow, and we can create with the right mouse button. We'll open this menu, create output, select the output, and we select the density. Then we need an input channel. So we have to say which kind of parameters we have to select, and we can go directly there inside the input, and we say input channel, so we can drag and drop over the sheet there, and we can decide to which is the channel of the particles we like to use. You see that there inside the input channel we have the color, but we go to select the age, and you remember that we stored the age inside the PRT file. So now we have the particle age there for every single particle, and we have the density. If we try to connect there, you see that it is saying that the value there needs to be a float. Let's activate the auto. In this kind of phase there with the auto, we are saying that the sheet is evaluated automatically during our work in progress. So you see that this one now is red, and it means that there is an error. And you see that there we have the output with an error, and it is saying that the channel density is a different type. So you see it needs a float 16 for the data, but it is using an integer 32 for the age. So we have to convert the data to a float value. In this case, we can use the convert. So we go to have to float. We can connect the scalar value there, and to float to 16. So you see that now there is no error because we have the value that is translated in the right one. In this case, it is just using this value, so the age, and I mean, for example, 1, 2, or 40 frames for a single particle, and it is using this one as density for the particle. If we go to render, let's see what happened. You see that that's the result. If we render again, you see that we have a different density. So we have, for example, a really high density there when the particles are at the beginning, and we have a really poor density there where the particles are really old. But it seems in this way. But it is just a problem about the shadows. You see that there, for example, we have an age that is 40, and in this case, for example, we have 40 about the density. So we have to divide the density to have something different. So we can divide this value. So we need an arithmetic function, and we need the divide. It is directly connected there, and you have to remember to connect there after the conversion to float, because if you try to connect there, and we can make a test. So let's pick a divide, and if we go to connect the dividend, so the first value, this one, and then to the scalar there to divide, you see that this one is red, and it is saying that there is an error about the input validation, and again it's the same problem as before. We have to convert the value. So let's delete this one with the delete key. We can connect again this one there, and you see that now we have the divisor. The divisor is the second value for the division. So actually it is, for example, picking the age for a particle that is 40, and it is divided by 1, and again we have 40. So if we go to render, we should have the same rendering we had before. If we go there and we say to divide, for example, for 40, we should have a different rendering, because you see we are dividing the density, and it is still high because, you know, we are using a really low density. So let's see, for example, what happens if we try to use 400. Let's go to render, and you see that it's starting to be more similar to the previous render. So obviously it is using the division, but obviously we have less density there and more density at the end, because the edge is higher at the end. So some kind of stuff we can do, for example, to control the density based on the aging. And now we are using the divisor. I went back to the 1, but for example, we can have an inverse density based on the age. So we have just to, for example, pick again another input channel, and this one will be age 2. We have to convert this value, and then we can use, for example, the multiply. So we multiply, for example, for 2. So if the particle has the value for the age like 40, it will be 80, and then we use this one as divisor. In this case, the particles that has the age 40 will be divided for this one that was multiplied to 80, so we'll have 0.5 for the density. If we go to render, obviously we'll have a different density than before. So you see that it is less density and it is taking care about the particle age. You can make some experimentation about the various parameters for the density and all the other stuff there over Magma, but we'll work on more tutorial about Magma to see how we can manage the particles and tune and tweak the look and all the other stuff based on this modifier for Krakatoa. So now what we need is to render this one and to comb over the knife. So to render this one, you have just to render all the frames, and then we'll see how to prepare a simple material for the knife. Okay, so the rendering is over, and we can save this one with a name, and we call it underscore KR to understand that this one is the Krakatoa setup. Now we need to work with the particles, so with the knife. So let's go to have, we can work with mental ray. So we have to set mental ray as default renderer. Okay, and let's go, for example, there. This one will be not renderable, obviously. If we go to render one frame, you see that we have this alpha, but nothing so much. So we can go to have a light. Let's go for a skylight, and let's save this one as beauty, or maybe we can just save with a standard naming and cover the old one. If we go to render again, I'm scaling the view to see better what we have. You see that we have the gradient. We can prepare a new material, and let's go for materials, and I go for an arc and design, and we can go for, let's start with a chrome, and we can select this one and assign. Let's say to use mental ray as material editor render. Okay, it's linked. That's our render. We can say that we are using the IO rare, but this time we have, for example, 12, so just a little bit more or less. Let's go for a black color, and then let's go to render preview. We have obviously the black color, so we go to have a texture for the map there. So let's pick a bitmap, and we can go with a map coming with 3ds Max installation. So we are going in the right folder, and we can use this one. Let's render a preview. we go to change gain to a really high reflectivity, and we remove the metamaterial so we control the look automatically. Let's go for 8 for the glossy sample to have more quality on the glossy reflection, and then I like to have a little bit of anisotropy. And then let's put the same map as environmental map. And we have to tune the mapping, so let's go in the material editor and we can copy this one as distance, and we say to use this one as spherical environment and render again. Okay, and we have the object there. Let's go to see how it looks. You see that it seems metal. We can go with an higher value there for the map. Let's go for 2, maybe 4. And you know, we can manage the locals inside the compositing later. So that's our result. Let's go to have a better rendering, so let's go for 16 and 1, and let's go for 1, 5 and 1, 5. And for the indirect illumination we can go with medium, but obviously I'm not taking care about the bounces. So let's see again a preview, and that's our render. Obviously, actually we have no motion blur because we are not taking care about this kind of stuff. So we can render all those frames and then we'll see the result in compositing. So all rendering are ready, and I just used the input node to have both the beauty and the other one. Let's go in fit. That's the trade. We can see in play the frames. You see that it's working really nice, and obviously now we have a little bit of grain because we need more particles to do something else, or we can use, for example, a depth of field to have a nice looking effects. Let's stop there. Let's see the knife. The knife, you see that needs a little bit of tweak because we see the environment, so we have to post multiply the alpha. Let's play it to see if the illumination is right. Now we'll see the clip in preview, and you see that it's working. Obviously we are playing at half speed because I'd like to tweak more the illumination and the animation, take care about the particles. So let's tweak a little bit there the knife, and we can go to have, let's go back to fit there and see, sorry, if we can have a little bit less saturation, and let's see if we can have more gamma because I used the sorry, because I used a different alpha. Okay, so obviously if you are using a different HDR map, you will obtain a different color, and if you take care about the shader with more details, like for example bump maps or something else, you will obtain a better color too, a better illumination. Let's go to have a background. So creator background, the background will be, let's say 1080, and let's go for 1700. And then we need a composite, a merge. This will be the background, the trail will be over. Let's work with the post multiply set to off. If you like to have more visibility for this one, you know, you can have an higher density rendering, so you can tune the density without problem. There, what we can do is to manage a little bit this path. So let's go for a color corrector. In the color corrector, I'd like to have a different color, and back to 1 there, and we can have a little bit of gain to have more illumination of the particles, and then we can start playing with the other one. So another composite, composite merge. This one is the background and this one is the foreground. So now you see that we have the right one. We can have another color corrector there to change also the coloring. So we can go for something more similar to the other one. Let's go to have just a little bit, you see, of the image more visible. Let's go back to see how it looks. You see that it's really nice. Okay, let's try to add something more. So let's go in the top there, and we can have a blurring. Let's use a glow effect. Sorry, I mean for the trail. So let's put there, and we have this one too. So you see that we have the glow. So let's go to have another merge and composite. So this one will be a screen, and let's go to have an higher glow, but you see the size is bigger, so that's what we are aiming actually. Let's see. Okay, that's the effect. Okay, let's tweak a little bit back, so we can have some colors, and let's try to have 4 arrows, 4 angle to control the color there. So you see we can have a better management of the color inside the screen. Okay, so just to add something more interesting, go back there, and I like to see how it looks. You see that obviously there we have a little bit of problems, but if you like to have something different, you can have, for example, there a blur with the focus, and you see that it is going to defocus the effect, and they have something more with less problem, I mean. So let's go. But that's obviously needs to be used just if you take care about this problem. So for the moment I keep this one set as off with a Ctrl P. So this will be our effects, and I like to have this one less visible, so just a little bit, and this one the merge there. Also this one I like to have it a little bit less visible, so it will be just a little trail. You see, in this way it is less visible and it is more interesting. Okay, so if we go to see the result, that's the stuff we are doing. So you know, you have a complete freedom to do whatever else. You know, you can use more particles to avoid the points. You can tweak the animation of the particles to obtain a different kind of effects, and also the noise, etc, etc. So you can do a lot of stuff, but it is a nice base to work on some kind of effects like this one. So for the moment, that's all, and I hope to see you back on Max Cookie to check for new tutorial coming from cgcookie.com. Bye.